Hey, so today I'm here to teach you the Beatles classic, Here Comes the Sun. Take a listen. Alright, so the main chords in this one are going to be D, G, and A7. The important thing for A7 is that you use your second and third fingers. So your middle finger goes on the second fret of the D string, ring finger goes on second fret of the B string. So we all together we've got open A, second on D, open G, second on B, and then open E string. And yes, the capo is on the 7th fret. Alright, so that's all the chords for the intro of this song. Basically, it just plays through those 3 chords 2 times in a row. And the way I would describe a lot of this is, well, first of all, it's a chord melody, so you're playing the harmony and the melody at the same time. And so the main principle that I want you to take away from this song as you're learning it is just control with your right hand. Being able to strum only the strings that you intend. That's very important when you're playing chord melody because you really want those melody notes to stick out from everything else that you're doing. And then the way that this happens in this song primarily is down strum and then a quick up pick on only one string. Those are the first 2 notes. So what I'm doing here for this part is I'm strumming a D chord and then I'm picking up on the B string. And then same thing happens again. This time we take our middle finger off the top high E and we up pick on the high E. So we strum all the way through and then up on one string. The next 2 notes, we're going to strum just the first 2 strings of the D chord, open D and the G string, and then we strum up on B. So this whole song, you're going to be basically alternate picking, just strict down up, down up, down up the whole time. For those of you who might be my students, I've probably told you at this point, but when we have an 8th note pulse, we strum down on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. We strum up on the ands in between. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so far we've got so from here there's a little bit of a rest before we get back into the next part. I listened really closely to George's playing in the intro, and I think what's happening is he's just kind of strumming down 2 times in a row to sort of kill time before the next melody note. So it goes something like this. So he's just really just strumming the lowest in pitch parts of the chord before finishing the melody on the D chord. Let's break that down really quick. So including the little rest part, that's all it is. And it's really fast in the song. Like that. And then after those 2 little down strums, we kind of play a familiar part. We strum all the way through the chord. This time we keep our middle finger down on the 2nd fret of the high E, and then we take it off. Like that. So we're strumming again all the way through the chord, up on just the high E string. And to finish off this part of the song, we strum So we strum through the first 2 strings down on D and G, and then we up pick on B. That's probably the one move that I feel like people will need to practice the most. But it's very important that you go down and then up. It keeps that steady groove going with your right hand so that you don't lose your rhythm. Okay, so all together we've got add in a little extra part there, extra down strum. Do we? Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to G. I had to check myself there. Okay, so G, same principles as D. Melody notes are different, obviously, but that's it. So we strum all the way through, or we strum up to a string, and then we up pick on one string only. So in this case, we're strumming all the way through to the open B string, and then we're strumming up on the open B, adding our ring finger on the 3rd fret of that B string. And on this G chord, we do a lot of back and forth between the higher strings in pitch and the lower strings. So a lot of it is we strum down on the low strings, then we strum up on the high strings. And that's, again, that contrast between the chord part, the supporting part, and then the melody part. So when you have the chord in a different register as the melody, it really helps that melody stick out as, you know, the part that your ear is drawn to. And that's the whole purpose of arranging the music in this way. Okay, so that's the whole part. So strum through the chord, up to B, up pick, ring is on 3rd fret, down on the low part of the strings, up pick on the high E, down pick again on the low part, up pick on the B string 3rd fret. So after you add your ring finger onto the 3rd fret of the B string, it just needs to stay there. Just leave it there. And then after we hit that last note, we hit that bottom part of the chord one more time. Cool, so on to A7. So this part of the song I think maybe will give people the most trouble, I don't know. But the reason I say that is because it starts on an upstroke. So what happens here is we start with our A7 without our ring finger. So it's almost all open strings until that 2nd strum. So what I would do here is you want to strum up from the B string, and we're going to strum most of the chord there. And then we're going to strum down to the B string as well, but this time we've added our ring finger onto the 2nd fret. So again, really slow. Wasn't quite as clean as I wanted it, but you understand. So we have a little bit of that back and forth again, like we did on the G chord, where we're hitting the root note in the low parts of the chord, and then up picking on the high parts of the chord. Almost the whole melody is on the B string, just kind of on again, off again, on, off with your ring finger. So it goes off, on, and then we add our pinky on the 3rd fret, down pick on the low part of the chord, up pick on the open high E. extra down strum on the low part. Okay, so let's hear what we have so far. Decent. I was a little sloppy, but the picking, you can hear it. You can hear the melody clearly, so that's good. That's the first half of the song. If you've made it this far and you can play this much of the song, well, I have good news for you. The second half is almost verbatim the first half. The only thing that's different is a couple notes on the G chord. So it starts exactly the same. Now, when we get to the G chord, this is where there's a little bit of variation. And you have to finger this G chord differently than you do the first time around. So the way that I play this is I have my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, just like normal, but I'm going to leave my index finger off of the A string just so it can be free to grab this note on the 2nd fret of the high E string. Because that's where the next melody note is. So for G, for this G chord part of the chord melody, what we're going to do is we're going to strum through the chord to the B string, just like we did last time. But this time we're going to strum up with our index finger on the 2nd fret of the high E and grab that. And we're going to continue with that alternating thing we've been doing. Yeah, so strum through, up on high E, just the bass notes, open high E, just the bass notes, 3rd fret on the B string, just the bass notes again, and then A7. And then you're through the intro. One more thing I want to add with this G chord here, I forgot to mention, is muting is very important. So if you're learning this song, this might be your first go at left hand muting. If it is, I just want to say, welcome. It's good to have you here in the left hand muting club because it is an essential skill for guitar players and it's something that separates a lot of musicians, I think. So basically all I'm doing here is with my middle finger, I'm not only fretting this note on the 3rd of the low E, I'm also using that same finger, just the pad of my finger, so underneath the tip, to mute the open A string to stop it from ringing. And the reason for that is because as I'm strumming through to play this busy chord melody, I don't have time to just hop over the A string. I just want to strum through it, you know? So all you have to do left hand muting is just touch the adjacent strings near wherever your finger is fretting. If you can do that successfully and effortlessly, then your playing is going to completely transform. And yeah, if you are wanting to check yourself on your left hand muting, the best thing that I can suggest for you is just recording your own playing. You'll be able to easily tell when there's strings ringing that you don't want, and you'll know exactly how to fix them. So best of luck with that. Alright, so let's finish up this song. So the song ends on an upstroke. That's the only stroke of A7 that we need the second time around. The melody notes on that G chord are and when we strum up on A7, what we want is to emphasize that note. So we strum up from the B string. And that gives us the resolution, the finality that the intro is now over, and we're ready to go on to the verse. So let me play the whole thing for you. Hopefully I don't mess it up, and then you can play the whole thing for yourself. All right. So hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson. This is a really great song for learning your first chord melody. I think it's actually pretty advanced with the right hand stuff that you're doing. It's not just a typical strumming pattern where you can just kind of bang out the chords as long as you know the rhythm with your right hand. It takes a certain level of precision and intention. And the left hand muting stuff is a great intro as well. And it's just a famous song that everybody loves, so why not learn how to play it well, you know? Okay, I think that does it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you at the next one.